Hello everyone, TheDerpHog here, and today I'm going to be sharing you guys with a special video. So I recently just went on a trip from here in Fuquay all the way up to Springfield, Illinois, and today I'm going to be sharing you the route that I took along with most of the pictures that I took along the route to get there and back. So this is going to be a fun video, so let's get started. But first, you're watching TheDerpHog, where I make highways content on all sorts of different topics. If you've been enjoying it, be sure to hit that like button, and if you've been really enjoying it, be sure to smash that subscribe button so you're notified on all future videos. And if you really want to help out the channel, become a member today, where you get custom cool emojis, early access to future videos, along with one free exit request per month. And if you don't want to become a member, you can always just pay $3 for a intersection request in future videos. Those highways will be listed down in the description below, and I'll make sure to shout you out when that video releases. So let's get on with the highway. So we begin here on exit 89 at US 1, and we're going to be taking the ramp for US 1 South here for Sanford. And then we follow US 1 for about 10 miles, and then until exit 79, we're going to be taking the exit towards Pittsboro. And then here in the Pittsboro area, we're meeting 15501 in North Carolina 87, where we stayed on North Carolina 87 for a short time. And then North Carolina 87 meets US 64 Business, where we took the left turn to get onto 64 Business West. Here is where US 64 Business meets regular US 64, and it's signed for Siler City and Raleigh. And our first mileage sign on US 64 West, we get Asheboro on the bottom line at 32 miles away. Here in the Siler City area, we mean US Highway 421, and it's signed north for Greensboro, which is the route that we took. And at this point of the trip, this is where I started taking my own pictures. And here is where US 421 is going to be meeting Interstate 85, signed for Winston-Salem, Durham, and Charlotte. Here's a picture of Interstate 85 as we are getting onto the highway from a flyover ramp. And then shortly up the road, US 421 is now going to be joining with Interstate 73. Here's where Interstate 73 splits off from US 421, and US 421 is now going to be joining with Interstate 40. Here is a really bad quality of Interstate 40 and US 421 sharing a pull-through sign. Here is where US 421 is splitting off from Interstate 40, and we followed US 421 north here. If you want to learn more about the control cities for both videos, I recommend checking out both my US 421 and Interstate 40 in North Carolina videos. Here is where US 421 has a pull-through with North Carolina Highway 150. Here is the exit where future Interstate 74 spawns of right now. And here on future Interstate 74, we're now meeting US Highway 158, and it just gets the Kentucky treatment. So does US Highway 311. And this is where Interstate 74 is going to be morphing into US 52, as they're going to have a currency here. But as of right now, we just get a US 52 a reassurance shield. And our first mileage sign after meeting Interstate 74, we get Mount area only from 14 miles out. Come on. Here is where Interstate 74 is splitting off from US 52 to head northwest towards Wytheville. Here I'm meeting US Highway 601 off of Interstate 74. More beautiful scenery. And now we're going to be joining with Interstate 77, and we're still signed north for Wytheville. We are now entering into the state of Virginia. But however, this mileage sign is not so great because we get Bluefield on the bottom line instead of Charleston, West Virginia. And just like almost every other two-digit interstate here in Virginia, we're meeting US Highway 58, which is signed for Hillsville and Galax. And then a little bit up the road, we're now meeting Virginia Highway 69. Now we're meeting Interstate 81, and we're going to be forming the famous wrong way concurrency here with bad control cities. Here I'm in US Highway 52 and Virginia Highway 121. Wait, what happened to exit 73? And then here's my picture of the famous wrong way concurrency. Sadly, I cannot get the US 11 shield along with US 52 because when it first joined up with us, there was a truck blocking the other shield, so I just got a picture of this one, sadly. Here's where Interstate 77 is splitting off from 81 to head north towards Bluefield and Charleston. Yay. And here's just a blank sign that appears to either be faded or just really bad shape. And here I'm in US Highway 52 at exit 52 in Bland County, and they're signed for Bland. But let me tell you something, the scenery here in southwestern Virginia is anything but bland, as you're about to see here in a bit. See, more scenery. But our next mileage time, we get Beckley on the bottom line at 57 miles away. That is not good. But on our pull through here, we get 77 north for Bluefield. Oh my goodness. And we still get Beckley on our bottom line mileage times at 45 miles away. Here's a reassurance shield of US 52 and Interstate 77 as we're about to cross into West Virginia. But we get one more pull through and we get 77 north for Beckley now. Here's the tunnel across under the West Virginia state line. On the other side we get the Welcome to West Virginia sign in Mercer County. In our first mileage sign in West Virginia, we get Charleston on the bottom line at 98 miles away. Yay! And a little bit up the road, Interstate 77 turns into the West Virginia Turnpike, and we're now meeting US Highway 19, which is signed for Camp Creek. And a little bit ways up the road, Interstate 64 is now joining us, and we're now signed north for Beckley. Come on, we're already in Beckley. This should be Charleston. And once Interstate 64 has joined with Interstate 77, we are now meeting US 19 for a second time, and it's signed for North Beckley and Somerville. Also, this exit here, me and my family stopped at to refuel and to get some extra supplies. And while we were at the gas station, I managed to grab a couple of pictures of US 19, which I'm going to be sharing more about in my US 19 series coming up this fall. And then once we got closer to Charleston, we're now getting Parkersburg as our next control city at 117 miles away. Here's a picture of one of the bridges in the Charleston area. And here's a picture of US Highway 60. And now we're getting a laundry list of exits as we're getting closer to downtown Charleston. Here is where Interstate 64 is splitting off from Interstate 77 and Interstate 79. In fact, here's that split, and let us see what this exit here on Interstate 77 is. Oh, looks like it's for US Highway 119. Here's where Interstate 64 is meeting, I can't see what those shields are. Ah, there we go, it's meeting US Highway 119, signed south for Logan, and US 60, which takes you into downtown Charleston. Here are crossing one of the rivers, and now we're meeting US Highway 35 on the outskirts of Charleston. In our next mileage time, we get Huntington on the bottom line at 29 miles away. And then once we get closer to Huntington, we're now getting Lexington on the bottom line at 145 miles away. Here I'm meeting US Highway 52 for another time. And then here in the Huntington area, here's a cool picture of the town. And then shortly after, we're now entering into the state of Kentucky. So between here and Kentucky Route 9, I did not get any pictures because sadly my phone was charging because I got too many pictures up until this point. So on our way to the exit towards Kentucky Route 9, we're meeting US Highway 23, which is signed for Ashland. And then further up the road, here's the exit for Kentucky Route 9, which takes you over to Kentucky Route 9. And the weird thing is that this exit here is actually the fastest way to get to Cincinnati if you're coming in from the east or the southeast. I don't know about the northeast. Here is where Kentucky Route 9 begins, and as you can see, it's signed for Cincinnati. And then Kentucky Route 9 is a very boring road. As you can see, there is literally no one on here, but there is some beautiful scenery along this route. Here in the Maysville area, we're meeting US Highway 62, and Kentucky Route 10 is now going to be joining us. And then once we got closer to Cincinnati, we meet Interstate 275, which is signed west for 471 and the airport. And here's a Control City sign for Interstate 275 west. And then here's one of my own pictures of the Cincinnati skyline from Interstate 275. And then here's the exit where you got onto 71 and 75 south, because we stayed the night here in the Cincinnati suburbs. And then we decided to spend like half a day here in the Cincinnati area, and I got most of these pictures, especially this one of a mileage sign off of 75, an exit off of 75, a directional sign off of exit 154, a picture of where 75 and 71 splitting, and the actual exit for 71, along with 42 and 127, and a picture of the traffic in the Cincinnati area. And this here, the Creation Museum, is one of the places that we visited while in the Cincinnati area. I recommend checking it out. Once we continued on our trip, we got back onto Interstate 275 here, and it just gets a pull-through sign with no Control City. Here we are crossing into the state of Indiana for the first time.
When we meet I-275, which serves as Cincinnati's beltway, we only have Control Cities for westbound and none for eastbound.
And after that, we now get a rare mileage sign here on Interstate 275, and it has I-74 as the Control City at 11 miles away. Now we're entering into the state of Ohio, and here's where 275 is meeting 74, and we're taking the exit for 74 west. And here I have a mileage sign for Indianapolis on the bottom line at 81 miles away, and I like this palindromic mileage sign. Now we're re-entering back into the state of Indiana. And here's where US 52 is splitting off from us, and we're going to finally say goodbye on this trip. And then here in the Greensburg area, we're meeting Indiana Highway 3, and me and my family stopped here to grab a bite to eat. And while at the restaurant, I managed to grab this picture of Indiana 3 being Interstate 74. Here I'm meeting US Highway 421 for the second time again. And here are reassurance shields of 74 and 421. And as we got closer to Indianapolis, we get this mileage sign with Crawfordsville on the bottom line at 63 miles away. No, I'd rather see Peoria here, because that's the next major Control City on 74 West. The reason why Indiana is signing Crawfordsville here is because of US 231. Why? Here I'm meeting Interstate 465, and it gets no Control City like always. Here I'm meeting Interstate 65 on 465 and 74. And now we finally get a pull-through Control City for 74 West only, which is signed for Peoria. And here's where US 31 is splitting off from Interstate 465 and 74. Here I'm meeting Indiana Highway 37. Man, this sign is as huge as the ones here in North Carolina. I wonder what's going to be on it. Here I'm meeting Indiana Highway 67 and Interstate 70. Here I'm meeting US Highway 40, which is just gets Kentucky treatment for Washington Street. So does US Highway 36. And so does US 136. And then Interstate 74 is finally splitting off from Interstate 465 to head west towards Peoria. In fact, we get Peoria on the next mileage sign at 190 miles away. Here in the Crawfordsville area, we're meeting US Highway 231, and like I said, this is probably the reason why they were signing it from the east side of Indianapolis. And then a little ways up the road, we're now entering into the state of Illinois. Sadly, I cannot get a picture of the full of the sign. Here in the Champaign-Urbana area, we're meeting US Highway 45. And this here is the picture of the 74 and 57 interchange. I did not grab a picture because this is what it looked like while traveling through there, but somehow the 74 West, 57 South exit was still open. And once we got into 57 South, we're now meeting Interstate 72, which is signed for Decatur, as we can see here. And once we got into 72 itself, we now have Springfield on the bottom line at 79 miles away. Here I'm in US Highway 51, which is signed for Decatur and Bloomington. And here is where US 51 is now joining Interstate 72, which is signed for Springfield and Pama. And as we can see here, if we missed that overhead sign last time, here's where US 36 is now going to be joining us, and US 51 is now leaving. And I skipped ahead to the Springfield area, where we're going to be joining with Interstate 55 for a short time. Here is reassurance shields of 55 and 72 and US 36. And here's the exit where Interstate 72 is splitting off from Interstate 55 as I head towards Jacksonville. And I stopped the pictures here because... And while up in Springfield, I managed to collect these cool pictures here. I managed to collect this Route 66 attraction as we were leaving town. I managed to collect this picture of a Portillo's with Route 66 stuff on it. And we actually visited that Portillo's. It was really good. And I also managed to collect this picture inside one of the stores at the mall that we visited. I don't know why a mall store has Route 66 stuff in it, but it's pretty cool. And then in one of the stores, I managed to also buy this from my wall in the back. And then finally, I managed to collect this error picture here where IDOT accidentally mislabeled as Interstate 55 as east, where it's supposed to be 72 east to Interstate 55, which is kind of funny. So we begin here at an exit just south of the 72 and 55 split, and we'll be taking 55 south here for St. Louis. And our first mileage on 55, we get St. Louis from the bottom line at 89 miles away. But at random interchanges, 55 is now signed south for East St. Louis. Like, come on, man. Now we're meeting Illinois Highway 4, which is here on Illinois Route 4, we get Interstate 70 on the top line and Lebanon at 22 miles away. Here we're meeting US Highway 40 once again. And we're now meeting US Highway 50 in Lebanon. Here is a mural of Lebanon, Illinois on the side of the building. And then shortly later up the road, we're now meeting Interstate 64, which is signed east for Mount Vernon and west for East St. Louis. No, that should be Louisville and St. Louis proper. In fact, we get Louisville on the bottom line at 233 miles away. Here I'm in Illinois Highway 127, which takes you over to Nashville, Illinois. I'm glad that they decided to put the Illinois on here because we're probably relatively close to Nashville, Tennessee, but they probably didn't want to confuse people with like the real Nashville. Here I'm in US Highway 51 once again, and it's signed for Centralia and Ashley. And now we're meeting Interstate 57 soon, which is signed for Chicago and Memphis. In fact, here's the concurrency with 57 and 64, and they're signed for Memphis and Louisville. And here is where Interstate 57 is leaving Interstate 64, and we get a Interstate 24 sign. And on Interstate 57, we stopped here in this little town called Marion, Illinois. I managed to get a picture of Interstate 57's control cities, which gets north for Mount Vernon and south for Cairo. What happened to Chicago and Memphis? IDOT likes to IDOT. And we now get another notification sign for Interstate 24. Here I'm meeting in Interstate 24 and it's signed east for Nashville. And once on Interstate 24 itself, we get Nashville on the bottom line at 180 miles away. And here we can see that Interstate 24 is signed west for the pathetic Interstate 57, not a control city on 57 itself. On our next mileage time, we get Nashville on the bottom line 145 miles away. Here are crossing over the Ohio River and into the state of Kentucky. In fact, here's the Welcome to Kentucky sign again. And then here in Kentucky, we're meeting US Highway 60 and Interstate 24 Business, which takes you into Paducah. And we're now still signed east for Nashville. Here we're meeting US Highway 62 and US 45, and they're signed for Paducah and Maysville. And then a little bit up the road, we're now also meeting US Highway 68, which takes you back over to Paducah. A little bit up the road after meeting US Highway 68, we're now meeting Interstate 69, which is signed to US Highway 62. And 69 North here is going to be joining with Interstate 24 to form a small concurrency. And then now we're meeting Interstate 69, and 24 and 69 have a concurrency. And man, I can't believe that the 24 shield is bigger than the 69 shield here. And then while on that concurrency, we're meeting US Highway 62 once again, and this time it's concurrent with US 641, and they're signed for Eddyville, and I don't want to pronounce that other town name. Here's where Interstate 69 is splitting off from Interstate 24 as it heads north towards Henderson, Kentucky, and Elizabethtown. A little ways up the road, we're now meeting the Pennyroyal Parkway, and the Pennyroyal Parkway is signed north for Hopkinsville, and Kentucky is currently working on this parkway to make it Interstate standard so they can sign it as Interstate 169. And a little bit up the road, now entering into the state of Tennessee. Here we're meeting US Highway 79 and signed for Clarksville and Guthrie. And a little ways up the road as we're heading towards Nashville, we just get this Nashville 8 miles away. Oh man, I'm going to be ranting more about this when I ever do a Interstate 24 video. And here's where Interstate 24 is meeting with Interstate 65 as they're heading south towards downtown Nashville. In fact, here's a cool view of downtown Nashville. And we're going to be meeting Interstate 40 soon, where 24 is going to be joining with Interstate 40. Here's another cool picture of downtown Nashville. And here's a cool picture of the Titan Stadium. And now we're meeting Interstate 40, and 24 is going to be heading towards that way for Knoxville and Chattanooga. Here is where 24 is splitting off from Interstate 40 as it heads east towards Chattanooga. And we're going to be staying straight on 40 here for Knoxville. In fact, we get Knoxville at 163 miles away, our next mileage sign. And then we're now meeting Interstate 840 here, which is signed for Memphis and Murfreesboro. This exit here at US 231, we actually stopped here to get some dinner at a gas station. And I made the wrong choice of accidentally grabbing a spicy chicken sandwich when I originally wanted a normal chicken sandwich. So my mouth was burning from the spiciness for about an hour or so. But luckily the drink I had with me was really delicious. And then as we were heading towards Knoxville, it started to get dark out, so I just took a little bit less pictures. And here's a one that I took a picture of across somewhere in central eastern Tennessee. And then since it was dark out by the time we got to US 127, this picture here is for US 127. And then we actually passed by here. This is at exit 340, and sadly, like I said, it was dark out, so I couldn't get a real picture of it. Same here with the US 27 exit, and I'm actually going to be doing US 27 very, very soon. And then here in the Knoxville area, meeting Interstate 75 again, and we're now signed northeast for Knoxville. And again, due to being dark out, I cannot get an actual picture of it. Here's where 75 and 640 splits off from Interstate 40. And since we haven't gotten to downtown Knoxville yet, 40 is still signed east for Knoxville. Here is a picture of downtown Knoxville. And here's the western meaning or eastern meaning of Interstate 640. And 40 is now signed east for Asheville. And then on our way towards Asheville, we're meeting Interstate 81, which is signed north for Bristol. And 40 is still signed east for Asheville. And then about 30 miles up the road, we're now entering back into the state of North Carolina. Here in the Asheville area, meaning US Highway 19 and 23. And they're signed for West Asheville and Enka Candler. And now we're being Interstate 26, we're joining Interstate 26 East and US 74 East for Hendersonville and Spartanburg. And if you want to check out a video that I made on Interstate 26, feel free to check it out right up here. Here is where 26 is splitting off from US Highway 25 as it's signed south for Greenville. And we actually took US 25 here. And then on US 25 we entered in the state of South Carolina. And then here in the town of Travelers Rest, we're now meeting US Highway 276. And US 276 and US 25 have a small concurrency. And then US 25 splits off from US 276, and this here is on US 276 itself, and we're meeting Interstate 385 near its northern terminus. And then we took 385 down to the place that we stayed at in Greenville, and this is on the next day. So this picture here is a very blurry thing of Interstate 385. And then here's a mileage sign on Interstate 385 itself, and it's signed south for Columbia at 78 miles away. And this is where 385 is merging into Interstate 26, and as you can see here, Interstate 26 has no access to it if you're going eastbound on 26. And this here is a pull-through on Interstate 26, which is signed east for Columbia. And this picture here is a very bad quality of Interstate 26 meeting Interstate 20. And 26 is now signed west for Charleston, and we actually took the exit for 20 east here. And then luckily things started to clear up, so I got a picture of Interstate 77, or South Carolina 277 here on Interstate 20. And I tried to get a picture of this mileage sign here on Interstate 20. And we get Florence as our control city now. Here on Interstate 20, I have a picture of US Highway 15, which is signed for Sumter and Bishopville. And then here is Lee State Park Road and signed for Lamar. That Lamar is just bugging me because it's not in the left side of the sign like Lee State Park Road. And a little bit up the road, we're now on the US Highway 401. Woo-hoo! And here's where Interstate 20 officially ends, and we're going to be joining Interstate 95 North signed for Fayetteville. On our way to Fayetteville, we're now meeting US Highway 52 in Florence, and I actually stopped at that Buc-ee's here in Florence. And then once we got back onto the road after stopping at Buc-ee's, we passed by the south of the border here. And then we also are now entering back into North Carolina once again, and this time we are staying in North Carolina. Our first mileage sign in North Carolina, we get Fayetteville on the bottom line at 48 miles away. And I'm meaning the 74s, and like last time, it's just hurting my head. Here's a picture of the Lumberton Water Tower. And here we have an exit for US 301, it's just signed for local traffic. Our next mileage time, we get Fayetteville on the top line, Dunn and Benson on our second and primary control cities. This is one of the stupid mileage signs ever. That should be Fayetteville, Benson, Raleigh. Here we're meeting a former North Carolina highway at exit 41. I believe this was North Carolina 59. And then after that, I just stopped taking pictures because I already took pictures in the Fayetteville area before. So now we're meeting North Carolina Highway 87 once again, and we're taking the exit for 87 north for Fayetteville. Here in the Fayetteville area, we're meeting Business Highway US 401, and we're going to be staying on 401 Business North. Here is where North Carolina 87 is splitting off from us, as it's going to be joining with North Carolina 24. And here I'm meeting Ramsey Street, where we're going to be taking left onto US 401 Business. And here's where US 401 proper starts again. And a little bit up the road, we're now meeting Interstate 295, and this is where I'm going to be ending the video. Thank y'all so much for watching this special video about my Springfield trip. I hope you guys enjoyed all the pictures that I took, and I hope you guys one day get to travel along this corridor yourself. And I recommend traveling in southwestern Virginia. It's very, very, very pretty. So if you want to know about my next upcoming highways, feel free to check the description of my other videos, as I am planning on regularly to go back to my schedule. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all next week.